I'm here in Taranaki at the Rhododendron Garden Festival in New Plymouth. I'm going to be going on a journey with growers of all kinds of flowers who are going to give us hints and tips on how to grow beautiful flowers for you to use in arrangements. It's going to be very exciting. I, particularly, I'm extremely excited about learning about every single flower in this garden. Well, maybe not every flower because that would be hundreds, but it's certainly going to be worthwhile. I'm here with Colleen Perry in this beautiful, stunning garden. So Colleen, tell me a little bit about your garden and when you first started becoming interested in flowers.
Well, this garden has been a work in progress for about the last 4 years. And yeah, I just wanted to recreate an English style garden in New Zealand.
Wow, you've certainly done that. So is it a lot of work? I mean, I imagine you must be in here every day.
Yes, it's a lot of work. Probably about up to festival, 3 months up to festival, about 5 hours a day.
Wow.
And that's really just mulching, clipping, because I do everything hand clipping, and also just planting little, fillers and yeah.
And what would you say was the hardest thing about keeping up a garden like this?
Keeping it weed-free and disease-free.
Okay.
And I've got a spray program for all of the roses, about 6 weekly approximately, so that I have to keep up with. And also feeding, you have to feed. I use blood and bone and hydrocomplex on the roses, and that just keeps them blooming and doing their thing.
So it's a bit like knowing your chemistry as well, knowing what plants need which kind of food and which kind.
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I see you've got some lovely irises here. How do you keep them looking good?
Irises do like fertiliser as well, and you can use the same thing that you use with roses.
Yeah.
They don't like to be too moist, and they don't like to be crowded, which is kind of what this one is at the moment.
Okay.
They can get a rot, but and they like warmth. They like to get some sun. You can't grow them in full-on shade.
All sorts of other things. You've got, which flowers are these over here?
This is a Sally Holmes rose.
Okay.
That's a fabulous flower for a vase, mainly because you can see each stem has like a whole lot of flower heads.
Yeah.
So one stem can virtually fill a whole vase.
Ah, brilliant. Okay.
And they last really well.
How long would they last?
I would say I've kept those for a week.
In a vase?
In a vase, whereas your Austins, these type down here, which are more peony shaped, you're only going to get 2 or 3 days if you're lucky, then they'll shatter.
Okay.
But the fragrance is fabulous with those.
Yeah?
So it's totally different form between the two roses. That's a single, that's clearly a double.
Okay. When you say single, you just mean that there's sort of one flower comes out to each bud?
They just have like a single petal, you know what I mean?
I see.
They're just one,
Lovely.
Whereas with these guys, they've got, when they open, they're clearly quite full and frilly. The pink garden.
I see you've colour coordinated it. That's brilliant.
Sort of moving around into the yellow cream garden here.
Now this is one of my favourite New Zealand plants, this lamb's ear.
Yep, Stachys byzantina is its botanical name.
Yeah.
And that's a great ground cover under roses.
Yeah.
Fabulous drought conditions, full sun, does really well. Yeah.
So when you say that it's good to have under roses, why is that? Is that because it protects the soil?
Well, not so much, but you can see that even though it gets really close to the base of the rose, it doesn't get into the leaves and affect the middle of it. It's kind of and it's basically it's got a nice look to it,
And can you use, because the thing that I love about it is the texture. It feels so soft. Can you use that in a floral design display? Do you think?
Yeah.
The floral. I've seen that use the floral foam where they sort of pin the leaves on top.
You wouldn't so much use it in a vase.
Yeah.
It wouldn't last. It would just droop. But I'd imagine you'd be able to use it.
It could give a lovely sort of texture to a base or something.
Yeah.
And when you're growing it, I mean, do you have to grow it from seeds or do you get a plant, or how does it actually start?
The easiest way would be buy a plant and it just multiplies. So basically it just spreads. It's got its roots just basically sort of spread through the ground.
Yeah.
And this bit here would have started out as one small patch, and it's just grown.
I can see it's gone right the way around, yeah.
So you can, if you want to put it somewhere else in your garden, you can just dig a piece up, basically shove it in the ground.
Easy as.
You're done.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And it really complements the white and the pink here, these beautiful flowers.
Yeah, I mean it will go with anything because it's got that lovely silver colour, so there's not really any hue that it's not going to work with.
It's almost like this wonderful box of delights, your garden. It's like everywhere that you turn, you come round and you see something else. You're like, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I've come over here and I'm almost dwarfed by these beautiful foxgloves. How do you grow them?
Those, again, they just multiply, they just seed. So I'll end up with little wee, I haven't got any down here probably right now, but I'll just end up with lots of little wee ones growing, and they just pop up everywhere, so you can see, you know, they've just popped themselves
So
up.
they're actually quite easy to have in your garden then, are they? They just sort of do the work themselves.
Exactly, and if they come up in a wrong place, you just pull them out. Yep, so they will just self-seed. And I actually buy those apricot ones are a hybrid.
Okay.
So I actually buy them from a garden centre.
Yeah.
Because you can't, when they self-seed, they go back to naturalising.
Right.
So they come back as the original colours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so those you do have to buy.
That's interesting. And I imagine you could probably make quite a striking design, couldn't you? If you were to pick one of these, you could have a very bold sort of design.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. It'd have to be in a big arrangement, I would imagine.
Because they've got that, just got that height, haven't they? So as we come round here, we've got some very interesting flowers here. I've never seen anything like this before. What plant is this? What flower?
This is commonly known as Jerusalem sage.
Okay.
Its botanical name is Flomis russelliana.
Yeah.
It is unusual. I quite like it for its height and its structural design. You know, amongst all this fluffy, flowery material, it gives a little bit of structure.
It's so striking, isn't it? It looks almost like a sort of pineapple thing, like a miniature pineapple on a stem.
Yeah.
And I see the flowers are just coming out here. Do they come out in every single little one like that?
So it'll come out tiered, and it's a very, very easy plant. It's very easy care, and it will spread. So you can divide it up, you know.
And where did you plant this from seed, or did you get it?
No, I got, it's quite a hard thing to get here.
Yeah.
And I found it in a little nursery, so I bought a few little seedlings of it, and and then it just does its thing. And now if I want it somewhere else, when it's not flowering, I'll just dig a portion up and move it into where I want it to go.
It seems to have really kind of taken to this area. Did it spread quite easily? Did it?
Yeah. It's like I say, it's very easy care. It's not a high maintenance plant.
It's so bold, isn't it? And as you say, it's such a contrast to sort of these lovely fluffy kind of ones that are just as you said before, the kind of English country garden. I've never seen anything like that in Britain, so it's lovely to have that kind of contrast within the garden.
Yeah, there are other types of Flomis, and you get Flomis tuberosa, which is a pink one.
Oh, lovely!
But it still doesn't have the tiers such as that one. It's
okay.
Yeah.
And how high will it grow?
Won't grow much higher than this. It'll just spread outwards.
Wow, brilliant. Yeah. They're quite sort of interesting leaves as well, and they're got
quite
that
textured.
And it's you said the Latin name for it was something that sounded a bit like Russell, and that's exactly what the leaves are like. Hey, they do sort of rustle.
Right. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, let's see what else you have round here. So Colleen, we're back in the English country garden, aren't we? Really, this is quintessentially English to my mind. Tell me a little bit about this plant. First of all, what is it?
It is commonly known as mingonette. Resida alba is its botanical name.
Yeah.
It's got a beautiful smell. Yep, you can smell it. It's kind of like
that's
it's
lovely.
kind of like a honey smell.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I really like it. Perfect with your roses and all those old-fashioned cottage perennials.
Yeah.
And it self-seeds, which is fabulous.
Easy again, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how long have you been growing this one for?
Oh, I've had this for donkeys. I've had this for years.
Yeah.
It's not a perennial, so I'm not going to have this plant forever. So it may, some people class this as an annual. I think it's more of a biennial.
Okay.
This may last me and do again next year, but the beauty of it is I'll get a whole lot more popping up everywhere, so I can choose which ones I want to keep and rip the old ones out.
And as you say, it just complements the other flowers so well, and it's got that wonderful texture to it.
Yes.
which is great. Living here in New Zealand must be so good in terms of growing things, because you've got such clear seasons, and you've got the sun, and you've got some rain to keep things moist. Do you find that?
I find that with the Austin roses that I've got a lot of, they grow to double the height that the books say.
Yeah.
And I'd say we've got beautiful volcanic soil, we've got a warm temperature, and like you say, just great growing conditions. So you've got to take that into account when you plant. Things get a lot bigger than what they do where you're from.
Yeah. If you had a sort of a secret tip that you could give people growing these plants, what would it be?
I don't know. I guess, nothing grows without a bit of care.
Yeah.
So I think feeding is quite important. And I feed my garden with blood and bone.
Yeah.
And because there's nothing particularly chemical about that, you can throw it on everything and the garden just loves it. It's like, even if you find a bit of roadkill, like a dead mouse or a hedgehog, you just dig it in. And
it's recycling as well, isn't it? Which is great.
And the roses do need their less natural fertilisers, but that can damage some of the plants around them, so you do have to be careful when you're dealing with actual synthetic fertiliser.
Okay, that's good to know.
It's fabulous because you can just throw it everywhere, and
you can just get that from a garden centre or a nursery.
You've got a small garden, you just go to a garden centre. For me, because I buy in bulk, so I go to sort of like a bulk buying place.
Well, you'd need to. You've got so many to look after here, haven't you?
Yeah. But so feeding and watering is important, but feeding's probably the main thing. And mulching. If you mulch and before the really, really dry weather gets to you, then that keeps the water retention in the soil.
Mulch, just to clarify, mulch is just like chipped up bits of wood, is
mulch
it? Or
can be anything. You can use sawdust, you can use newspaper, use whatever you like.
And just pop it on the soil.
Grunt, they call it here.
Okay.
And that just it suppresses the weeds, which is really important if you're showing your garden, of course. And but it also keeps the moisture, and I do to about 5 centimetres. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a lot then, quite a lot of mulch.
It is.
Well, thank you very much, Colleen. You've shown me lots of things and I've learnt heaps, and it's been a pleasure to be in your garden.
Oh, well,
thank you very much. I'm here with Raewyn Wolfe, who's the president of New Plymouth Floral Art Club. Raewyn, tell me a bit about your club and what you've been doing.
Right, our club is based in New Plymouth. We have 52 active members and we're very involved with the community. I'm delighted that the show has come together as it has, 18 months in the planning, and the club members have just been superb.
Yep.
We're also involved with things like we do art in the park, which we're doing in December. We're doing Christmas decorations for them at Tupari.
Brilliant.
Yes.
And who came up with the idea of vintage cars and floral arrangements?
It was my idea.
Well done you. How well does it work? It's fantastic.
Well, I'm very happy how it's turned out, and they have just taken on board my idea.
Fantastic. Well, Raewyn, I can tell that this is a very dynamic floral art club, and we're delighted to be here today at this exhibition. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I'm here with Lynn Roberts in the Vintage Car and Flower Festival. So Lynn, you have made this brilliant design here. Tell me a little bit about it. What inspired you?
1937 era was sort of cabaret, flappers enjoying life.
Brilliant. So tell me a little bit about this design that you've got on the top of the car here. What flowers have you used?
We've used peony roses, sweet peas, lilies, and delphiniums.
Delphiniums.
With the copper beech.
Yep.
And just the fern, just to give a nice flow.
Give a bit of contrast.
And jasmine as well.
And I see that you've managed to make the colours fit in with the colour of the car. It all complements each other really well. Was there anything that you needed to bear in mind when you were putting this arrangement on top of such an old and vintage car?
Yes. We've actually got it in a what you call a casket tray, a very long, narrow tray, and underneath for protection we've used a like they use for tables, so your tablecloths don't
Oh,
move.
okay. It's a kind of like
Yeah,
rubber
it's a
matting, is
rubber
it?
matting type
Yeah.
thing. That is actually underneath the tray, so hence that can sit on the car. It won't damage the car and it won't slide off as well.
Okay, and I suppose you need to be careful when you're watering and stuff. You don't want to be sort of
No, that you don't. Yes, yes. And the shoes, once again, Delwyn did the shoes for me.
And what have you used in the shoes?
She's used lamb's ear.
With the beautiful texture.
With the
to
beautiful, yes, velvety texture with it.
it. You'd almost want lamb's ear on the inside of your shoes, wouldn't you? They'd be
Well,
like
you could do,
insoles,
yes.
wouldn't
They
They'd
would
so
be
comfy.
lovely, yes.
So what have you done? Have you painted round
She's
it? Or?
she's actually silvered that over with silver paint afterwards, just to, and then we put some glitter just to add the glitter, to bring that up through.
So you already obviously had the shoes, and did you stick the lamb's ear on top?
We had the shoes, yes, and they were actually flat shoes, and my husband moulded the heels.
Did a heel?
Yes, he did.
And is this a separate little flower? This one?
That's a little, yes, I'm not quite sure what she used there, but she just was something that she just wanted
Dainty and delicate, just to give it a little-
finish it off, yes.
And how long will these last?
They should probably, I'd say
while.
good while, yes.
Not too perishable then?
No, they do get a bit brittle after a while,
That's
but
worth
yes.
knowing, definitely.
Yes.
Does the glue kind of preserve them a little
Well,
bit?
I think so, probably.
Brilliant. Okay, let's move round to this over here. So we're here with this suitcase of delights, isn't it? It's just overflowing with beautiful flowers. Are these the same flowers that you used in the other design?
Exactly the same flowers. We've just incorporated them from the front round to the back, and they're actually sitting in an old hat box.
Ah, it's a hat box, not
there
quite a suitcase.
On top of a suitcase.
Right.
Got a couple of fur stoles, which were very appropriate to that period of time.
Yep, I see one just peeking out there.
Yes, and then we've actually got the fox there.
Foxtail,
Yes.
brilliant.
And the hat, once again, was made by Delwyn Andrews. She's made it out of the newspaper crosswords.
What a clever idea, and it just gives it
Brilliant idea.
that sort of monochrome look, isn't it? Just
Exactly,
little
yes.
little squares and shredded up bits of paper.
Yes, and the browns and everything just all, coordinating with the
Ties in
flowers.
perfectly.
Yes, Christine Gordon put this together, and she's used a big wire cage
Yep.
with a big block of Oasis, and it's actually sitting on a template inside, and she's also got it sitting on like a big oval dinner plate. And she's
Okay.
just worked out of the wire cage.
It's so clever because you can't see any of that at all. It's
That's
completely hidden by this design, and it's quite a sort of traditional look, isn't it? It's
Very-
quite kind of
yes.
old school English look.
Well,
With
that's, that's going with the period of the time.
Absolutely, yeah, it fits in with the car
It does,
beautifully.
yes.
How long would a display like this last?
Given plenty of water to drink prior to being used, they should last, I'd say probably a week, 2 weeks. Yes.
Thank you very much, Lynn. That's brilliant to know.
that's
Thank
good.
you. Well, this is my usual home, propping up the bar. Do you
lucky
fancy
young thing.
a drink with me?
Why not?
Little martini? Okay, this might be slightly even too big for me, but tell me a little bit about this design. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, as you can see, we've actually got the little martini glasses over there, and that's sort of bringing through the cabaret style to the very tall, traditional. This is a very, very modern design. And we've gone right through from the traditional to the modern in the very tall glass martini glasses.
I'm surprised you managed to get martini glasses that big. You know the right people.
Yes.
So, what flowers have you used in
We've
here?
used dubras and orchids with just a touch of the red flax.
The flax
And
and.
just finished off at the bottom with a couple of orchids sitting on the bench.
Can I pick this up?
Yes, you
this
sure
one?
can.
Because I can see you've used the lamb's
Lamb's ear
ear again for that beautiful texture. And have you just
Just
pinned
glued
it or
just
glued it
on.
with a little bit of hot glue? And then
Just put
that's
a little
lovely.
leaf in it just to finish it off.
And what I love about it is the fact that all the colours complement each other. So you've got this hot pink bringing out the dress, and mirroring even the straws over there are pink.
Yes.
So there's a lot of thought has gone into this as well.
But when
Brilliant.
you've got like a burgundy car, you've got to think of the colours that will go with the burgundy. Well, really to me it's pinks and silvers.
Absolutely.
A little tinge of lilacs and blues to bring out a bit of darker colour.
And I need to ask, what have you used to make it look like crushed ice?
That's crystal, what are they called? Water crystal. Well, crystal rain, that's it.
Crystal rain.
Crystal rain.
Crystal rain.
Yes.
Ah,
It's
and
like jelly crystals.
does that help in terms of water or
It does.
anything? Or yeah,
Yes, it's all full of water.
that's
And
brilliant.
they'll last in that for quite a while. Yes.
Must have needed a ladder to complete this one. Tell me a little bit about this design.
Well, once again, we just wanted to bring in the pinks and blues behind it again, and our other Bay girl, Judy Lethbridge, put that together for me. So
Beautiful.
Very, very thrilled with it.
And again, these are similar to the flowers that you've used, but I see you've got the foxgloves in it as well, just to give it
the
height.
and the strength and through the middle of it.
What are these leaves?
That's Copper Beach.
Copper Beach.
Yes.
Did you have that? You had that
Yes.
maybe in that
Copper
one
Beach
as
is
well.
right through the whole lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which of course is nearly the same tone as the
Right,
car.
it's bringing in the dark.
That's
tone.
perfect. Well then, thank you very much. I can see that you've put a lot of time and a lot of effort into this lovely setting and lovely design. I'm here with Beryl Watson. We've got the privilege of sitting on the running board of this lovely vintage car. So Beryl, tell me a little bit about the inspiration for this scene and this design.
Well, this is our 1929 Chrysler Roadster,
This is yours?
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
lucky you.
and it's we just thought it's the ideal car for going to the races. So it's a two-seater, so we've got two cushions for our young couple, two wine glasses for their picnic. They've already had a go at the cake,
Yeah, I can see that.
and everything that came out of the basket was filled with flowers.
Picnic camper. So first of all, tell me, what have you made your little cushions out of? Is
Our
that
New Zealand flexes that are the hybrids for garden. There's the red one that side, and the green and yellow stripy one that side.
okay? And those are their natural colours. It's not just
That's
that
how they
one's
grow.
older.
No, that's
I
just how
see.
they grow. They're perfectly natural.
Wonderful. And then you've just woven it together.
Just woven it over a wire frame.
Ah, okay. To keep its shape.
Keep its shape, yes.
Brilliant. And the cake. What's the cake made out of?
It's just Oasis. There's another flax called Platts Black. It's a black strappy, quite a small flax.
Much
leaf.
thinner, I can
Very
see,
thin.
than the other.
Very
than the other
narrow. Well,
flax.
mine's very narrow. I think it's because I don't grow it very well, but some people grow it better than I do.
Sure, that's not the case. And I see you just used little pearl pins. Have you, just to hold it? And what's giving it its shape? What's it pinned
floral
onto?
foam.
Ah,
the ordinary
okay.
floral foam, but just we've left it dry. We haven't dampened it at all.
And I'm just looking at the napkins as well. Have you got something fancy around the
Yes,
napkin?
just the cowrie cone. Have you seen a cowrie tree?
Yes. What is it? One of the oldest in New Zealand?
Yes,
Is that
one
right?
of the biggest. And it has a little round cone that actually explodes when it goes bang, and then all those little flaky bits fly everywhere. And I've got one in our garden, and when it hits the roof, you think, oh, there goes another cone. And it's just a little, they're like scales, and you can just, they're wooden, but they're quite soft. You can put a pin through them, but I have actually glued those.
So you glued those ones to give them their
Yes,
shape, but they're actually little tiny pieces.
Yeah,
is
they're on a
that right?
cardboard form at the back. You know, just the centre out of lunch paper roll or one of those.
And in the picnic hamper here, which flowers have you used? You mentioned a couple that have been
The
used.
carnations, the yellow ones, those spray carnations, and these are standard whites.
Yep,
And the little white gypsophila,
yep.
and
Giving it a nice kind of
and just a greenery,
texture.
just normal greenery out of the garden. There's a little bit of buxus, and this is a fern called hound's tooth fern. It's a New Zealand native, that one.
Oh,
it really
I
keeps
see.
well.
And it's great because you've got these different, you've got the smaller leaves on this giving it some texture, and then
Yes.
this hound's tooth has got again the waviness which kind of complements the smaller leaf but just has a bigger surface area. And
Yes.
have you put this on floral foam or what? Have
Yes,
you put
there
it
is.
on
There's a
inside?
container inside the basket.
So tell me a little bit about this design here. That's obviously mimicking the races, is it?
Yes, a horse jump. Yes, that's what it's, hurdle. We've got some flower tubes in fact, they're not even proper tubes. They're button holders. The little tube.
That keeps buttons in it.
Yes, and one of our shops here, we're getting rid of them and we're giving them away. And I thought, oh, I could use something
Perfect.
with those.
So do you just
Nice
put
and
a little
big.
bit of water in there?
Yes,
then?
yes, there's some water. And I just wound around angel hair.
Angel hair.
That's the copper-coloured one. I thought it would just give that background a bit of a lift.
And the sunflowers give it a nice contrast with
It
that
does.
yellow, don't they?
Yes.
What's the green?
Asparagus fern. It's probably got a scientific name, but we call it asparagus fern.
Asparagus fern is fine.
It's grows quite prolific once you get it going, but it takes a while. But it's a really a handy little thing to have in the garden.
Yeah. Of course, you'd be a little bit gutted, wouldn't you, if you were having a picnic here and a horse did come and jump over and disturb everything.
Wouldn't be easy.
What have you got just on the fox stool behind you? I see you've got a little posy there. Did you make this as well?
Oh, one of our team members made that for me.
And what flower has been used
We've
there?
got roses and a little beronia.
Yep.
Just a little corsage for the lady when she goes to the races.
All right, well, let's have a little look at the design
Should we
on
get
the
up
back.
there? Or?
So on this design here, you've attached it to this pristine trunk. Is this part of the car?
It is. It's attached to a carrier.
I see. Okay, and obviously you don't want to be scratching that or anything. It's in such good condition as it is. How have you attached the display to the top?
We found this basket. My friend, who's also my neighbour, did this design, and we got the basket when we didn't know what to do about getting it stable.
Yeah.
But her brother-in-law made that little cradle.
I see. Yep. I can see the cradle there.
And it's just a nice little wooden cradle, just enough to hold that basket in place and paint it up the same colour so it doesn't look out of place.
And of course it keeps this in good condition as
It
well.
does, yes.
So which flowers have you used in this part of the design?
We've got carnations again, these little yellow ones, and
Yeah.
lilies, Asiatic lilies, hyacinth,
Yep.
some stock there, a little bit of white stock just for a little bit of light, and bells of Ireland at the top.
These one, Bells of Ireland, are they?
Yes,
Cool.
they're beautiful, and they just last so well.
And have you added a little bit of sort of lilac
Yes.
thread or something
Yes,
just to
it's called
pick out?
moss floss. You can buy it in the packet. It's just tiny little thing, but just gives a little bit of a glitter on that blue.
Yeah, a
Picks up
little,
the blue.
little bit of texture.
And my neighbour grew these beautiful
Wonderful.
cymbidium orchids. There's just a little tube there. You can just see that.
Yeah,
I'll show you.
I'll just pop that back
Pop
before
that
I ruin any more of your design. There we go.
It's got it. Yes.
And so what have you put inside the basket to keep the flowers in place?
Well, there'll be a container to stop the water.
Yeah.
And then there's the floral foam.
Yeah.
Just what we always do.
Yeah.
It's
And then I see,
so useful.
as I exposed there, you've got little tubes, have you, just
some
to
tubes just for those.
just for those little flowers?
She had a whole stem of the cymbidiums, but she took each one off and put it in a tube.
And how do you attach the tubes to the floral foam? Is there like a little stick or something?
I'll show you what they're like. They've got a long...
Okay, so these are proper.
Yes,
Okay.
they're excellent for this sort of work because you could cut them off if you want to because they're only plastic.
At any height, yeah.
Put them any height you like. So
Perfect.
And it just goes back into the foam.
And how long would this design last?
It should last a week, really, if it's well looked after. But all these tubes would have to be refilled with water because they don't...
Every day or?
Every day.
Yeah. Well, Beryl, thank you very much for showing me this design. It's been great to go to the races with you. I especially enjoyed the cream cake, and these designs are lovely, so you should be very proud of them.
Yes.
So I'm here with Janet Rowe, and she's going to tell me a little bit about another beautiful ensemble. First of all, tell me about this dress. It doesn't look particularly modern. I wouldn't maybe see that in the high street. When's it from?
It was worn in 1911 in the South Island,
Yeah.
Canterbury.
Wow. Okay. And you've preserved. It's been preserved for all those
Yes.
years. So this actual garment, it's not just in the style of. This was actually worn, was it?
No, it was actually worn and it's kept in a suitcase on a hanger.
Wow.
I haven't pressed it. it came straight out of the suitcase.
So
and
it's got genuine 1911 wrinkles on it then, has
yes,
it? That's
yes.
brilliant. So, and this design over here next to it, that's almost like a wedding bouquet. Is that from the same kind of era? Is that inspired by a 1911?
I had a photo of my grandmother's in that period, and I copied it, more or less.
Yeah.
And have used old flowers. There was no centre of interest in a bouquet at that time. A lot of greenery was used, and just things were picked at random from the garden.
Yeah. And which flowers in particular have you used in this bouquet?
Buttermilk roses.
Yeah.
What else have I got? Lots of fern was used, asparagus fern.
Yep. And were these just flowers that you found in your garden, or did you get these from a market, or?
A friend gave me the buttermilk roses, but I actually grew the spirea and the minuet, which are very old, and the cottagey rose on a spray.
Yeah. And how have you put them together in the design? I mean, are they in floral foam, or what's
I have
all
got
together?
them in floral foam,
Okay, and
which is attached to the silver ring, which
see.
it's displayed on.
Okay, yep, I can see that. And it's nice the way that you've got the ferns just kind of tumbling down,
Yes.
giving it some height there as well. You can imagine that would be nice as a bouquet to be holding that and have all that kind of interest coming down.
Yeah. That's how they were worn at that time.
It is such a kind of traditional look, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
And speaking of traditional, tell me the story of this car.
It was rebuilt in New Plymouth. It came to New Plymouth on a ship from America to the New Plymouth port,
A long way, yeah.
and the whole car has been rebuilt.
Yeah. And what's it made out of? It's so shiny and it's so kind of...
Well, there's rosewood.
Yeah. Is that's on the inside, is it?
Yes. All rosewood.
And the outside, what's that made from?
I'm not sure.
It looks like aluminium. It looks like the kind of aluminium.
It dents very easily.
Yeah.
We were asked not to touch it, the door handles or the hinges, and that's why we chose to display work on the running board.
Yeah. So tell me about this design then. Is this doesn't look...
Well, it's more contemporary.
So what are these orange flowers that you have?
Milson Gold is the name of the rose. It's very strong, and we chose apricot, and we were thrilled to have it reflect in the car, the roses.
This is beautiful. It's almost like getting a double design, isn't it? For your money.
It's been highly polished, of course. We chose to use blue-green.
Yes.
And the spheres are covered with lamb's ear.
What have you actually put the lamb's ear on top? I can see that you've pinned it on with, a little...
It's all been pinned.
Yeah. And what are the actual balls that you've used?
Styrofoam. Yes. Yes.
How long will the lamb's ear last when it's...
It lasts a long time. I've had it 3 years in a design.
3 years?
Yes.
Is that right?
You've got to overlap it a lot, otherwise it parts and you see the white styrofoam.
I see, yeah. And have you, it looks like you've been a little bit influenced by the beach here. I see you've got some nice shells and some...
Yes, we chose the shells for contrast and the colour.
Yeah.
We looked for different forms and texture.
Yeah.
Rough with the smooth.
Definitely.
The succulents are very rough, aren't they?
Which ones are the succulents? These ones here?
Yes, and the blue.
These?
Yes, yes.
They look like beans. They're not, are they?
A succulent, yes.
Here.
Yes.
How have you managed to get the roses to stand up so tall?
Well, that's designed in floral foam too.
Yeah.
The whole tray is filled with it.
It's got a long strip of floral foam then. Yeah.
The tray actually is for a drip tray under a car. Sometimes a bit of oil escapes, so the tray fitted nicely with the running board. It's stainless steel.
Certainly really does.
It's hard to get men to come to these things.
Absolutely.
But the cars have been a draw card.
So tell me a little bit about this design at the front. You've obviously got the number plates in the back here. Was that important for you to keep that?
Very important.
Why was that?
Well, people want to know about it.
They do, especially the guys, don't they? The men of this world are interested in their cars.
I've never seen the Silver Ghost before, a lot of them have.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I see that it's 1920. Is that the year of the car? Is that why it's all ties in perfectly? So having that as a backdrop, you've then got this lovely design here, which is again very traditional.
Yes.
What sort of era is this design from?
Oh, 1950s.
Okay.
60s.
Yep. And what flowers have you used?
Well, the Milson Gold Rose and
Yep.
the orchids.
Which is similar to the slightly more contemporary design you've got around
It all
there.
in together.
Yeah.
Because we've got the colour coming.
The gold here really works well with the orange and the apricot tones coming through in this design. Was that was intentional then, was it?
Yes, very intentional. Yes.
What are these flowers?
This
Minuet, is it?
very old flower. It's transitional material.
Okay.
Which ties up to the roses and the orchids to run it right through the design.
When you say transitional material, you just sort of mean like a bridge between the green and the...
threading it through from the roses to the orchids.
I see, okay.
Lead your eye in to a centre of interest,
Right.
which the bouquet didn't have.
Let's have a look at the presents. That's what caught my eye. It is like a wedding, isn't it? It's like a
Yes.
wedding reception. You've got all these beautiful presents. I take it that was the inspiration then, was it? You've got the wedding dress.
Yes, because this is like a suitcase. It comes up here, and this was something that was dry, and we felt we could make use of it without it damaging the car.
Yeah.
Judy Williams, a girl, a lady in the team, she covered all these.
Wow.
Yes, chose the papers and the ribbons.
You've got those lovely golden tones coming through again in the apricot.
There's a lot of thought gone into it,
Absolutely.
and the same fabric was put on the cylinder presents
And I see
that we've carried right through.
Beautiful. And what's inside the presents? Is it real things or just boxes?
Nothing.
Oh, gutted.
Sorry. Yes, boxes.
Brilliant.
There was room for everyone that she'd designed.
As is so often the case.
Yes.
Can you ever have too many presents? I don't think so. So, but Janet, you've actually been incredibly busy because you've not just done this one scene, you've also done another scene inspired by a car as well, haven't you?
It's a team effort.
You're going to talk us through the other design as well, aren't you?
Yes.
Brilliant. We'll look forward to that. Thank you very much for telling us all about this beautiful car and your lovely designs. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
I'm here with Margaret Andrews and she's going to tell me a little bit about this stunning design. First of all, what was your inspiration?
Well, it was just because the car is a tourer, and so we sort of thought of a theme of a weekend in the country, as maybe it would have been, because it is a 1925 Sunbeam, an English car. Mm-hmm. So we just thought of just a weekend out in the country with the golfer and his golf clubs.
Absolutely.
And picnic baskets and the tennis rackets. They're off to friends in the country. All the floral work on the car, we tried to keep it in keeping with that era. By using garden flowers. The roses are all out of friends' gardens. The tortuoso willow that's through was to indicate a bit of a hedgerow in the country. With the cones, there's a little bird nesting here.
Oh, lovely.
It was just to give the feel of just, driving by a hedgerow.
A traditional country hedgerow.
Country, yes.
And how have you made the design? I mean, what's it sitting on top of?
Well, it's actually, I have two long trays with 4 blocks of oasis in each, and this is just really designed at random more or less, keeping the colours drifting through, and with the greenery, just like you would see in a
Giving it that
along a
kind of
hedgerow.
contrast,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, originally we were going to have a design on the running boards, and then we realised that because we have a lady in the car and the gentleman is stepping into the car, we didn't think that was quite right. So then
She'd be tripping over it, wouldn't she?
she'd be
You know,
treading
she'd
on
be
the
standing
flowers.
all over it.
So we decided, Joan came up with the idea of making it look like a country road with the little wildflowers.
How clever. So, and
Yes.
these are actual wild flowers, are they? that
Actual
you've
wildflowers off the country side of the road down South Taranaki Way.
used? Okay,
Yes,
I recognise
yes.
a couple. I can see some buttercups
Yes,
and some daisies.
yes.
Is that mostly what you've used?
I think she has used mostly that and just grasses, yes,
Yeah.
off the, yes.
I see that you've used this space in between the headlamps really effectively. Tell me a little bit about this design.
Once again, it was just the choice of flowers was just mainly garden flowers, just things that would grow in an English country garden, in keeping with the theme of, we tried to keep it all in the look of the 1925 to go with the car, and so it is just a, yes, it's just a design full of flowers. There's roses, aquilegias, sweet williams, sweet peas, ferns, just with the odd little butterfly there. Our intention overall, the four of us working on this, was to not to do too much that would take away from the car.
Yeah.
We wanted the features of the car. The only thing that we did do, we've hidden the crank handle, which is actually down there.
I see. So you probably
Yes.
wouldn't get very far then, would you?
No, we probably wouldn't.
Drive it.
No.
And have you just used floral foam to put it in?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We have a board. There was a board made to sit across the bottom, and then a trough with the floral foam.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Margaret, for talking me through all of this and showing me your designs.
That's all right. You're very welcome. Good. Thank you.
I'm here again with Janet Rose. She's going to talk me through another lovely, is it another wedding design up here?
Just married.
Just married. Okay, so we've had the wedding and now we're just married and this is the after.
They're off.
They're off. So what have we got here? This is very impressive. What have you used in this bouquet here?
This actually is a martini glass.
Oh yes, I see.
Yes, brought all the way home from Victoria Market in Australia.
Oh, what's
This is a whole bunch of gypsophila, a whole deck, and it's fastened with the stalk of a lily, a thick lily, which is soft in the centre, and all the stems radiate from the centre.
Okay, so have you?
And then it's covered with the glass stones.
So where's the lily stem? Is it inside
Directly in the centre, and we've
Okay.
covered it with a stone.
I see.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
And that's what's kept it all together.
So it's like a hollow lily, and then you've just got all these.
The lily
stems
stem
coming out.
is very soft in the centre,
Okay.
and of course it feeds in.
Yeah.
So the stem sat in the centre, and the stems of the gypsophila all radiate out of the softness of the stem.
Spray.
Yes.
Brilliant. And I see you've used the martini glass kind of motif over here as well. We've got a couple.
There's four actually. The shape is repeated
Yeah.
from the large glass
Yeah.
and the smaller glasses.
That's brilliant. And you've got this sort of champagne bottle, and it almost looks like this spray is coming from the champagne bottle. Was that your intent?
That was the idea.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So tell me a bit about this car. Do you know much about this car?
Well, being royal blue, that's why we chose to use the blue velvet in the design there.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot we felt we could do with it.
Yeah.
We didn't want to cover the running board because it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, that silver really does kind of.
Yes, and it was suggested that we do flowers in the dicky seat at the back.
Yeah. Shall we move round and talk about the
Yes.
seat? Let's do that. I can see that you've put a lot of work into making this design work from all angles. What flowers did you use?
We framed it up with a lot of asparagus fern.
Yep, that's the green that I can see, is it?
Yes,
Yep.
and it's been designed in a baby's tin bath.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Okay, yeah,
with a handle on either side, and filled with floral foam, only from halfway. The styrofoam's underneath.
Okay.
Yes, because it was quite weighty to put in. Got 7 tall stalks, which is like an ice cream cone,
Okay.
that are placed in the oasis in the centre of the design, and that's how we attained the height
I was
of
just
the
going to ask. Yeah.
of the lily and the rose.
And it's nice that you've got that blue echoing through. Are they foxgloves? These?
No,
Those?
they're delphiniums,
Delphiniums,
all
sorry.
delphiniums.
See.
Renata,
Okay.
a beautiful rose. It's sort of a little bit apricot-y, but see how it's opening to white? Cream.
Is it this one here?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yes, and the orchids, contrast in form, rough with the smooth, and the minuet again, because it's an old flower and it just lasts so well.
How long does it last for?
Oh, about 8 days.
So that's
A lot of people can't grow it, but mine just seeds and comes up every year.
very lucky. And I see, again, you said the minuet's quite an old-fashioned flower, but this is again quite an old-fashioned shape, isn't it? Having that kind of
Very
triangular-
traditional,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
traditional. And the gypsophilia's been repeated
Yeah.
because we had it in the martini
You
glass.
can never have too much, can
No,
you? Really?
no.
And it's also just occurred to me as well that this gypsophila is almost like confetti, isn't
Yes,
it?
it
So
is.
that ties in with the just married theme too.
It does.
Just notice behind you, you've got this lovely little posy. Tell
Yes.
me about this. How did you attach that onto the handle?
With the blue ribbon,
Okay.
yes.
Tied-
The orchids were tied together with the fern and tied with the blue ribbon and tied to the door handle. And another blue bow was made just to tuck in at the side.
So dainty, isn't it?
It is.
Kind of delicate. Now, you also talked to us about the other design. Do you have a favourite between the two designs? You're allowed to tell me, it'll be a secret. No one else will know.
It's a hard one.
Well, they're both stunning.
Yes.
I like both of them.
I love the royal blue of the Graham Page, but I also like the silver ghost very much.
So what you're telling me is you can't choose one, can you?
No, I don't think I can.
That's fair enough. They're
Sorry about that.
both stunning designs. And
First equal.
I'm here with Marilyn Surgeoner, and she's going to tell me about this wonderful posh picnic. So first of all, Marilyn, tell me about that delicious chocolate cake.
She used around the sides China fir tree, I think,
Okay.
cones for around the side.
Yep.
Hookah leaves on the top and, of course, carnations in the middle for the cream.
Of course.
And she certainly has done a lovely job.
Wonderful. And what about the little tray of goodies? What's in that tray?
The little tray, again, they were little pine cones. You're talking about the petite fours, the little, chocolate ones. They were little pine cone dried ones that we found in the park.
Yep.
And she painted, the bottom ones were left natural and the white on the top were tipped upside down and painted.
Brilliant.
And sandwiches were made from loofah.
What's
That
loofah?
loofah that you use in the shower
Oh,
for
really?
scrubbing.
You're scrubbing your
Yes,
back and
for the
everything?
bread.
Oh,
and the
wow.
asparagus rolls the same.
Okay.
She used succulents for lettuce in the centre because in the 1920s, when they had a posh picnic, they always had lettuce sandwiches.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And is that the era that this car is from?
Car is 1926.
Okay.
A Buick.
Now I see that on the front you've got this wonderful garland. Tell me a
Yes.
little bit about how you constructed that.
Right, it's got the conifer, blue conifer. It has the one across the bonnet has plastic tubing and wet oasis, the green oasis through that.
Okay.
And then the flowers poked in with a lot of difficulty.
Oh, really?
The actual garland over the front is like a netting, and that's much easier to use. Again, it's a netting tube, and you put the oasis through it.
Is that how you managed to get it to drape so well?
Yes, because it drapes lovely. It's just like sausages. It's joined every so often like a string of sausages.
Okay, very clever.
Yeah.
And the dress, tell me about this wonderful dress.
Yes,
What's it made from?
It's made from dried bamboo leaves, and the fringe around the bottom is the fir tree. The pine needles.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did you get them to stay together? How did
The pine needles are on double-sided sellotape.
Okay,
Yes.
and the bamboo, how was that?
Bamboo. We started off hot gluing it, and then with the heat of the hot glue, it would it left a mark. We did carry on doing that, but on the tips to get them to sit down, it was the double-sided sellotape again.
Okay, handy and cheap.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly.
And what about the hat? What's the hat made from?
Now, I made that out of, I'm not sure of the name of the correct name, but it's the paper tree is a common name. It's the bark of the paper tree.
Okay.
And they are the shoes. One of the other girls made the shoes, and it's the same to match, because you must have the matching.
Absolutely, you've got to have a matching hat, matching
exactly.
shoes.
Yes.
Has she got a little bag there?
No,
She should
but
have a little.
got pearls, and they were done from. They were made from dried seaweed pods
How
that
clever.
you pick up on the beach and painted.
Wonderful. And how did you string them all together?
My husband had to drill holes in each and every one for
Really?
me, and again with fishing line through the centre.
And they don't shatter when you drill a hole?
No, they're actually very hard in the middle.
Wow.
They're just fiddly.
Tell me about the dress and the little girl.
The dress was the one of the girls. She picked the little blue flowers, are the seeds of the New Zealand ringa or the Arthropodium.
Okay.
And she painted every little seed head with a grey blue colour.
Stunning.
And the little pink ones that look like roses are a pahutakawa
Okay.
seed.
Yeah.
And then she sewed each and every one on.
Wow.
And she made the little collars made of the dried honesty leaves and painted.
Wow. And what about this lovely running board here? I love the design that you've got, the pattern running through
And
it.
I've got the little spray chrysanthemums.
Yep.
The standard carnations and little spray carnations because they last in a show like this. You know they're not going to wilt or die on you.
Fair enough.
And the little pine cones we painted silver.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So and that's all got, of course, the oasis underneath
To keep it.
casket trays.
Ah, okay.
So they fitted perfectly on the running board.
Well, Marilyn, this is wonderful. You've put so much detail and so many amazing little things that you don't notice at first are made from flowers or from natural fibres, that it's just alive with everything going on. Thank you so much for talking me through it.
Thank you very much.
I'm here with Mary Vinicombe in this beautiful garden. She is an expert at getting things to grow beautifully in container pots and small spaces. So Mary, tell me a little bit about how you got started with your garden.
Well, we came to this property 17 years ago, and it hadn't really been gardened to any extent, so I drew the design for what I wanted, and then my husband and I set to work to create it. So we wanted I guess I'm a frustrated large gardener, and I wanted something that had elements of a large garden but were contained in proportion for a small garden.
Okay.
So containers tend to allow you to have some of the things that you might not have in containers in a larger garden.
So what would you say were your container success stories? What have been the ones that have really taken off?
Well, I think the cordylines that are here behind us, they've created a lot of interest. As a fairly prostrate plant, raising it up like this allows it to be the red fountain that its name suggests.
Yeah.
So that's been very successful. Little fruit trees, for example, do very well. And the little kumquat here, which is in full flower at the moment, produces lots of small orange fruit. One of the plants that I did bring with me in a container, but I've since put out into the open garden, but it is very possible to grow in a container is an apple called a ballerina, which grows tall and slender, but it doesn't need pruning. And that would be something that would be very suitable for somebody with a small patio garden or a small area, because it produces lovely apples.
Well, it's nice to have that kind of fruit, and especially if you're in a city apartment perhaps and you're not always getting fresh fruit from your supermarket.
Certainly.
It's nice to have it growing on your front doorstep.
Absolutely, yes.
And how much work does it take? I mean, do you have to be out in the garden all day, every day?
No, I'm certainly not, because I do some embroidery, and there are always grandchildren and all those other things to deal with. But no, it's a task that needs just attention to detail, and to do little and often, and when it's seen to be needed.
Yeah. So it's just keeping an eye on things then, isn't it?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Okay, and if you were to suggest some plants that you could take cuttings from and use for floral designs or floral arrangements, which ones would you suggest?
Well, there are some things that are quite suitable for growing in pots and that floral arrangers use all the time. Elegia capensis, which becomes a large reed growing out in the garden, can be grown in a pot quite successfully.
Is this the one
This is Elegia capensis.
It's beautiful,
yes, and
isn't it?
floral arrangers use it a lot and love to use it because it's so dainty. But that is growing very happily in a pot, provided that it's kept well watered, because of course it does like a moist situation.
And can you grow this, does it have to be outside, or can you grow this inside as well?
I haven't even tried to grow it indoors. I believe it really should be outside.
So even if you have a patio or something,
yes,
it's so tall and thin that it wouldn't take up too much space.
No, it's reasonably narrow, yes.
What else have we got here?
Well, these are not so much container grown, although you certainly could grow holly in a container. But that variegated holly is probably something that's quite desirable.
Yeah.
The one that I'm growing outdoors in my garden, I keep clipped quite tightly, so it doesn't have to grow large. It can be kept quite small.
And of course, if you were putting this in an arrangement, you'd have to be quite careful, because I just pricked my finger about 7 times on it. Things were thimbles or something, didn't you? But we've also got this beautiful colour as well.
Well, now the copper beech, of course, is grown in the ground outdoors, but this particular variety grows, it's fastigiate. In other words, it grows tall and slender, like a poplar.
Okay.
And it's a variety called Doik, which is spelt D-A-W-Y-C-K. It was a chance seedling in Holland about 50 years ago, and the breeders have used that genetic material now to strengthen it. It's now available in a lovely soft lime green as well.
Lovely.
So if you're gardening in a small space and you absolutely love to use copper beech, it is possible to have one.
Well, that's good to know.
Yes.
It's such a lovely colour as well.
Yeah, so it's Fagus sylvatica Doik.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Mary. Shall we go and have a little wander around this garden and see what other treasures you have?
Certainly.
Let's do that. Okay, so what have we got round here then, Mary?
Well, this is cordyline, New Zealand cordylines, which has been developed with a nice variegated leaf.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Nice stripes.
Yes.
And
again, that can be used, of course, because it's a nice stiff, rigid kind of leaf.
Yep, so you could use that in floral arrangements, curving around perhaps.
Yes.
And then underneath
I've planted heuchera. This is heuchera amethyst, and that works very well in arrangements. It lasts quite well. This marbled effect, of course, is just lovely, but underneath it's got the most gorgeous
stunning
leaves. Yes, and of course, in a pot like that, something planted around the base acts as a mulch. It helps to keep the base of the pot cool, although of course the cordylines are fairly hardy.
Yeah.
So that just gets watered on a regular basis as I'm watering the other plants. And feeding is I feed once a year, but I use a slow release fertiliser called Triabon, which is a nice pelletized material, and it's very good for pots.
And what kind of soil do you put in the pot? Is it container mix?
I use a commercial potting mix always.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's That's beautiful, and they're helping each other out, really, aren't they? They just complement each other
Yes, they
so
do,
well.
don't they? Yes.
And I noticed as we went past, we've got these stunning hydrangeas. Are they in a pot as well?
Yes, they're in a very tall pot in here. It's a very tall green pot that's standing up above the others so that we can get that height.
Yep.
Yes. It's a recently developed hydrangea from France, and its French name is Merveille sanguine.
Which means?
Well, it means a marvellous blood.
Oh!
But our local grower, who is has imported it and is supplying it now, calls it bloody marvellous. And that's, of course, because it's much easier for New Zealanders to cope with bloody marvellous than
absolutely.
with Merveille sanguine.
And it looks bloody marvellous growing there, doesn't it?
And it's a beautiful red, of course, so it's going to be lovely.
Yeah, that's stunning. Brilliant.
And the hostas, of course, do very well in pots.
Yeah.
And hosta leaves lend themselves beautifully to flower arranging.
Brilliant. Okay, let's see what we have down here then, will we? Wow, Mary, tell me about this. This is no ordinary clothesline, is it?
No, it's certainly not. Clotheslines deserve to be disguised when they're right in the pathway. But no, it makes a wonderful place just to hang some baskets. The baskets are permanently clad in the ivy.
Okay, that's underneath here, I see.
And I have the ivy hollowed out to about this thickness with the roots in the soil. And then I have a heavy plastic liner in there just to stop the ivy from pinching all the goodness for the plants that are inside the baskets while they're growing.
Thing to know.
Yes, so these are planted up in late July. Here, which of course is our late winter.
Right, okay, so if you were somewhere else then you're talking late winter, you want to get that going.
That's right. Yeah, so the ivy just gets gently clipped when I replant so that it keeps a nice contour.
Yep.
But of course it's got some nice little sprigs that are very usable because it does continue to grow.
Yeah.
When I water, I use a wand. I water frequently, of course, at least once a day during the summer, sometimes twice because we get bright sunlight.
Yeah.
And in the first few weeks of growth, 3 or 4 weeks of growth, I will water with a liquid fertiliser.
Right.
But otherwise, all the fertiliser is just in the potting mix as I plant.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Well, it's good to see the ivy like this because I thought I've only ever seen ivy growing up walls, so it's nice to see you can have it in these containers.
Yes.
But they're sharing the space with these beautiful, cheerful flowers.
Yes, and the chrysanthemums, of course, are a nice firm stem and they last very well in an arrangement. Pansies not so. In fact, these baskets were supposed to consist more of pansies than of daisies, but the daisies have had other decision to make.
They didn't want to share, did they?
That's right, yeah.
That's brilliant. And what have we got just behind?
Okay, well, this is, in these two containers is Ionium Schwarzkopf, which is quite spectacular. It doesn't flower every year, but because it's a little under stress this year because it was repotted, I've been able to have some flowers. Behind it is Elegia capensis, which we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, we looked at that, and that's
yes, yeah. Now that's very closely packed in that container, and I suspect I'll never get it out of there again to repot it. But that too needs ample water.
Okay. So for
but
every day, would you be watering
oh,
that
absolutely,
every day? Yeah.
yes, every day. But it certainly makes a nice contrast to the very rounded dark shade of the Ionium, doesn't it?
Are they all in the same container?
No, there are two containers there.
I see, okay.
Yes, and then what was once my water lily bowl is what has the Elegia in it.
See, what I'm seeing here is that you keep using everything over and over again and using the space that you have and having 2 or 3 or 4 things all in the one space, which just it makes it an arrangement all in itself, basically.
Yes. And then I use the pebbles around the bottom because the pots look rather naked just sitting on paving, and it just helps to do that final little piece of texture.
Brilliant. Let's see what we have around the corner.
Right.
Oh wow, this is beautiful. Tell me the story behind this.
The archway, of course, was part of the thing that was constructed very early on.
Yep.
We had a little discussion for a month or so about the angle we'd place it on, but it's been very successful.
And
it gives a nice sense of leading you around the garden.
Oh, it really does, up the garden path, some would say. And inside it you're growing these wonderful clematis.
Yes, and these of course are very suitable for small gardens because you're growing them vertically, so you're not taking large amounts of space. And the flowers are eminently useful for flower arranging.
Yep.
This is Naomi, and this one flowering up here is pink champagne.
Oh, lovely.
One of the bonuses is that as the tepals drop off, they have the most beautiful silky seed cases, and they're marvellous for arranging too.
Wonderful.
The little one on the back here is Arabella, and Arabella is also very good. Now this is a species clematis, and a nice long stiff stem, and they are very useful.
So that's how and how do you look after this? I mean, do you have to keep it wet, or does the rain do that for you?
No, it doesn't get any special treatment. The clematis are pruned at the end of winter to about this height. By that time the leaves have all died off, and the new growth comes straight out, and most of them flower on new growth, so they respond very quickly to good food.
Yep. What do you feed them?
Well, I try to use organic food, but they also quite like some lime. I use dolomite lime for them. And then in midsummer they can be cut back again, not quite so far, and they'll spring into a second growth, and at that time I'll give them more feed.
Okay.
But Raymond Everson, who's a clematis breeder in Guernsey, has just been developing some lovely new ones. And these are even more suitable for small gardens because they can be grown in containers.
Yeah, ideal.
And there are some absolutely beautiful new ones. They're not so vigorous, and he has developed these particularly for patios and small gardens.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
They're worth looking for.
There's some great
colours. They're available here in New Zealand now, and I know that they're also available in other countries.
Okay, that's fantastic. Brilliant. Well, it's just lovely to walk through, and just it sort of leads you on to the rest of the garden in such a nice way. So Mary, this is like a patio of delights here then. Tell me about what you've got going on.
Okay, well, the little conifers are a New Zealand developed one. A little Chamasiferous obtusa. The planes that juxtapose are lovely, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Called Takaka. And conifers will do very well in pots, as you saw all around the garden before, where we walked through the archway with those picea with their beautiful conical shape. They will cope very well with pots.
And how high will you expect them to grow?
These will just stay quite nice little round buns.
Okay, yep. And I can see you've just you've got some stones and things in the bottom of the base. What's that for?
I do use pebbles as a mulch over the top of plants in pots. It
to keep it cool.
Keep the moisture and keep them cool.
Brilliant. And what else have we got? This is just a wash with colour here. It's beautiful.
Yes, campanulas which grow out of the stone retaining wall.
That's these flowers here, yeah?
Yes, that's right.
Lovely lilac shade.
And then rhodohypoxis growing in the container there. A little corm-like tuber that comes from South Africa. It's deciduous, and it quite likes to be dry in winter, but lots of moisture during spring and summer when it's flowering.
That's these ones here, is it?
Yeah. Yes, very spectacular.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's just the pansies in that other container there. But the bowls I made myself with hypertufa.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's ingenious.
And then over here, another plant, of course, that does quite well in containers is the small liliums. The Asiatics and the LA hybrids will do very well in containers. So that's something that people can have on patios very happily. And then, of course, my ponytail palm. Now, that's started off as a little plant about so high on the mantelpiece about 25 years ago. So
wow, it's done well, hasn't it?
Plant, hasn't it? Very graceful.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely, it's stunning. And of course, if you just had this space and that was all you had in a patio, it's amazing the amount that you've managed to do. Everywhere I look, I can see splashes of colour, I can see little interesting things going on, and it's amazing what you've managed to do with small spaces and containers. Thank you so much, Mary, for showing me around your garden. I'm so impressed.
Thank you very much. Good.
I'm here with Mitch Graham, who is the head gardener of Tupari House and Gardens here in New Plymouth. Mitch, tell me the story of the house and gardens.
Well, the history of the house goes back to 1932. Sir Russell and Lady Matthews purchased the property, and it was a very rough slice of Taranaki farmland.
Yeah.
They went about building the house, which took about 10 years, and at the same time they started to develop the property. They fell in love with an arts and crafts style, which they brought back from England after one of their trips there, and got James Chapman Taylor to build the house, or design the house, and they lived here right up until the late 80s.
So are you going to show us a few of your favourite places then in these gardens?
I will.
Fantastic.
So, Lisa, hydrangeas are a very common and worthy plant here at Tupari as well.
Yeah.
They put on a fantastic display. The blues and the whites are marvellous, and they're very easy to grow for yourself too.
In what way do you grow them from seed, or can you take a cutting?
No, cuttings is definitely the best way.
Okay.
And you're going to get an exact clone of the parent plant.
Oh,
too.
that's fantastic.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Yep. To keep the blues, we do feed them with a little bit of aluminium sulphate.
Yeah.
And if you want the reds, then a little bit of lime.
Oh, that's interesting. So that actually, what you feed them actually makes a difference to what colours come out. Brilliant.
Yes.
And you've got hydrangeas all the way up here, don't you?
Yes,
which is
right.
lovely, just framing this. And of course we've got this gorgeous view out here. And what normally flowers over there?
Well, this is what we call the cottage garden, and we've got a mix of sort of whimsical style of plants this time of year. So there's a lot of aquiledias, salvias with their large tall flowering spikes are starting to come out now.
Yeah.
This is all a whole new project, but it used to be Lady Matthews' rose garden, and she would grow a lot of roses here.
Oh, I see.
Things changed with the copper beech growing, and light, of course, affected the roses. So hence we have had to change the style a little bit.
And you mentioned before that she didn't always grow roses. During the war, would she?
That's right. Yeah. So yes, during the war, this whole area here was all vegetables. It was a massive crop of vegetables. They would grow them and give them to people that were in need during the war.
She sounds like quite a charitable person.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And she would love to pick her own flowers and take them inside the house and decorate the house with the flowers.
That's fantastic. And let's carry on up here, will we, and see what's in this this lovely glass house.
We do a lot of growing and propagating in here.
So when you say propagating, does that mean just sort of taking a plant from a plant and then
That's right.
growing it again?
Either by cutting or by seed.
Okay.
Sometimes by layering, which is taking the branch of a plant and nicking it and growing it in a potting medium.
So that's a really good way of growing amazing plants without spending too much money, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah.
Yep. And it's very easy too. Taking cuttings means you're not losing the original plant, and it's great fun on a day when you can spend some time in the glass house to do a little bit of propagating.
Absolutely, and it's recycling as well, which is what we always like to see.
Right.
Let's have a look and see what you've got in here. So Mitch, show me the best way of taking a cutting. I see you've got a hydrangea plant there. If I wanted to replant that, what would be the best way to go about doing it?
Well, you've got to get your timing right for a start.
Okay.
Midwinter, hardwood cutting with hydrangeas is the way to go.
Yep.
And what you would normally have is a stem with most of its leaves fallen off, and you would cut it off just below a node.
Yep. Do you have to cut on a slant, or does it just kind of naturally do that?
On the bottom it's not so important, but on the top you should do.
Yep.
Take off all those leaves, get rid of the growing tip, cut the top on a slant.
Yep.
Dip it in a little bit of hormone powder, bruising hormone powder.
You just get that from a nursery, or
yeah. And you can then put it in a pot with a little bit of pumice sandy is fine, some sort of, or vermiculite, perlite, that sort of thing, or a seed raising mix, something.
You can get all of those from the garden centre, can't you? Yeah.
You can. Pop them in. If you don't have a glass house, you can put a little cloche over that if you like.
Okay.
A little.
Just to protect it.
Just to protect it.
Yeah.
Keep it nice and humid in there. Yeah.
And then obviously you need
keep it watered.
Yeah, I was going to say you need to keep it topped up with water. Well, that looks a lot simpler than I imagined it would be.
Yeah, no, it's very easy. The depth's the only thing. You don't want to put it in too deep. Probably up to about this node here would be fine. You'd get quite a few roots coming off that. Another trick, if you wanted, could be just to scratch the surface like that. And it'll just encourage some roots.
Okay, that's good to know. And I suppose you need to keep an eye on it, do you, if you need to repot it, because it's not going to stay in that little pot forever, is it?
No. I imagine by spring, it'll start to get some roots and start to fill out, and then you just pot it up, or you can even put it straight out to the ground throughout spring.
Yeah. So out here, Mitch, we've got some lovely sort of old-fashioned looking flowers.
Yeah, aquiledias, granny bonnets.
Yeah.
Yep, they're a lovely spring flowering plant, and what they'll do is they'll end up finishing flowering, and if you have a look around at some of these spent flowers, you can sort of see, where have we got some? There should be some starting to go into seed fairly soon, and they'll just drop and regrow here.
Okay, so you don't need to worry too much about them then, they kind of do their own thing, do they, in terms of seeding?
Yeah, aquiledias will self-seed, and then if you've got it overcrowded, it's easy enough to dig them out once they've developed some roots and replant them elsewhere in the garden.
Okay.
Yes.
When you're growing things from seed, are there any particular things you need to bear in mind?
Well, the most important thing is to keep an eye on the plants throughout the year which are good performers. Don't try and repropagate plants that are struggling as far as vigour goes or of poor health. Keep an eye on your plants, earmark them, even put a stake in them during the season, so when they do die down or they finish flowering, you know which ones to come back to.
Well, that makes a lot of sense really, doesn't it? Because if the parent plant isn't doing too well, the children plant aren't going to do so well either.
Right.
That's good to know. How many gardeners work in this garden?
3, really.
Three?
Yeah.
Just 3?
Yeah, just 3 of us.
And all of it?
And all of it, that's right. Yeah, we're all enthusiastic.
Ah,
yeah.
So amazing. Just 3, I can't believe it. And that's with, do you get loads of people visiting then?
Oh, well, this is a particularly busy time of the year throughout spring. It's traditionally the garden visiting time of the year. But no, we have steady numbers throughout the year, and we maintain our 3 gardeners right throughout the year, and we're always busy. There's always things to do.
I bet.
Winter time, even when things are deciduous, there's plants to be lifted up, divided, replanted, composting to do, all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's never a dull moment.
No, it's a full-time job. So Mitch, tell me about this unusual looking plant here. Is it wedding cake plant?
Wedding cake plant, I do get confused with common names, but I can tell you it's a viburnum. Viburnum's the genus. It wouldn't surprise me if it's called wedding cake tree.
It does look that tiered, doesn't it?
It's tiered, definitely, and it's in full flower at the moment.
Beautiful.
These flowers here will last for a good few weeks over spring, and then come early summer they start to dry off a little bit, but they still retain some beauty. Yep, they turn a nice colour.
And tell me about the sort of seeding process on this. Is this one that self-seeds, does it? Or?
No, this is a cultivar, and it probably won't come true to form.
Okay.
But there is a lot of stuff in this little wild bed here that does self-seed and does come true to form.
Okay, what else have we got around here then?
Well, at the moment, the honesties, or otherwise known as lunarias, which are these small plants, these little perennials.
The little white ones and the red ones as well?
No, the red ones are the euphorbias.
Okay.
They're great for taking home and putting in a display as well. No, but the honesties, and you can see them, they're coming into seed now too, with those little discs there.
Yep. Little white, yep.
Here we go.
These little.
That's right.
So they're just coming into seed just now then?
Just coming into seed.
Spring at the moment.
Yes, yeah. And what you can do with those, once they start to get a little tired, just shake them around in any bare patches of your garden, and they'll self-seed without any worry.
Okay, and I've also seen these sort of dried out and used in the floral arrangements. Is that something you can do quite easily?
Yeah, they are attractive. They'll go quite a light auburn browny colour, and you'll even hear them rattling in the wind throughout late summer. Yeah.
And do you know why they're called honesty plants? Honesty.
No, you've got me. There's another common name.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they honestly look really good. Well, Mitch, thank you so much for enlightening me with your knowledge and your wisdom, and telling us about these plants and how to grow things basically with not very much money, which is great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Raewyn, tell me about this beautiful creation you've got here.
Now, this hat was created by Joan Andrioli, and she was the lady who actually took the workshop for us at Club Day. But there's a lovely story behind this hat. Yesterday when we were setting up, Joan did a beautiful big arrangement in the main ballroom, and she came to me and said, Raewyn, I'm sorry I've let you down, I haven't done a hat. I said, don't worry, Joan. Well, this morning she arrived with hat in hand, and I said, when did you make that? She said, well, I couldn't sleep at 11 o'clock last night, so I got up and made you a hat.
Imagine having that much talent to just be able to make something so beautiful in such a short amount of time.
Absolutely.
And all she's used here is what, skeletonized leaves?
Skeletonized leaves, and it's all formed on just wisteria vine.
Wow.
And it's just
and
stunning.
how are they stuck onto the vine?
She's used a glue gun and just spotted them on.
And it's beautiful the way this fans out, almost looks like there's some feathers in there, looks like almost like a big flower, isn't it?
Absolutely stunning.
Just the kind of thing you'd wear to the races, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I might be able to pop it on for you.
Oh yes, please do. Wow. Yeah,
Go.
absolutely. That's wonderful, thank you. But you've made some creative hats of your own, so tell me a little bit about your own designs.
This is just a couple of dried pasty leaves and a dried aspidistra leaf, which I split down the middle and just crinkled it up, and I've just made a rather big fascinator.
How did you get it all to stick together? Did you use glue for that?
I have just used a glue gun to just pop it all together.
What I really like about this one is you've got the contrast between the shiny beads and then you've got this matte leaf, this
Well, it all
dried out
comes
leaf.
back to our principles. You look for texture, form, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's lovely to have those contrasts, and I love the way the tones all complement each other, and you've just got a little string of beads there as well, which is great.
Thank you.
And you made this one as well, didn't you?
I was fiddling around down in my flower room, and I thought, I think I'll make one of those old-fashioned bathing caps, so here we go.
And what have you used?
I just used Glad wrap, which I wrapped around the model's head, and I just glued them all on.
And what are these? Are they little flowers or leaves?
Hydrangea flowers, dried
Flowers,
ones, yes.
dried. And how long did it take for you to dry them?
Well, in the summer, after the drying off, they naturally dry on the bushes, and then you pick them at that stage, hang them upside down in a dark room, and let them dry out, and they just become absolutely paper dry.
Wonderful, fantastic. And there's some other wonderful hats here as well. What was the idea? Did everybody just decide that they wanted to make hats?
After Joan's workshop, we did have all the club did make hats. But since then, they've gone home and they've really honed their skills up, and this is what we've come up with today.
Yeah, there's some real beauties, and every single one just seems to be slightly different, doesn't
Absolutely.
it? Everybody's brought their own.
We've got, some ones with feathers in them. We've got them made with the paper bark, plaited flax, just leaves that have been glued onto one another. There's one over there with a lovely red rose on it, and it's got the top of it's got the Norfolk pine, which has all been twirled around to make the crown of it. It's just stunning.
Wonderful.
And then there's this flossie over here that's got that wonderful blonde hair. That's flax that's been dried. And,
wow.
And just we've done right there. No, there are some beautiful hats, and I'm really proud of all the girls.
Well, it's a real opportunity to just be really creative. And
absolutely.
Raewyn, that is the most beautiful, dainty little shoe you've got there. Tell me a bit about it.
Well, this little shoe was made by Judy Lethbridge, and it's the inside of it has got lamb's ear. Across the toe, it's cane. Now, if we turn it around onto the heel, we've got little berries, and then we've got little bits of feather, tiny little pieces of flax. It is just exquisite the way she has put the whole, and even the sole of it has been done with the paper bark.
And this isn't the only shoe that you have in this exhibition, is it? There are a few others. Tell me a bit about them.
There's many other shoes in the exhibition. I think there's about 11 of them. Now the shoes, we didn't do a workshop on them, but they were part of our Taranaki Design of the Year competition, and it was to design a shoe and decorate a shoe. So that's where they've all come from.
And all of them have used natural materials again. Some have got flowers in them, haven't they? Do you use an actual shoe as a template, or do you...
I think this one, Judy has made the actual shoe. So it's not an actual, you know, she's made the shoe. It's not an
Scratch.
Yes, these ones below us are shoes that have been decorated, overlaid with the plant material.
Brilliant. Well, Raymond, everything in this exhibition is just so elegant and so beautiful. We've seen lovely vintage cars, lovely vintage clothes made from materials that you wouldn't normally associate with hats and bags and shoes. It's just been an absolute delight. Thank you very much for showing us around the exhibition.
It's all my pleasure, and thank you for coming.
Well, I've come to the end of my adventure here in New Plymouth, and I have learned heaps of things about how to make amazing floral arrangements with flowers from my garden, flowers from containers, flowers that have been bought from markets. I've got some brilliant hints and tips on taking cuttings from plants, and spoken to people who really have a knowledge and a passion for their gardens and for growing amazing plants and flowers. I hope that you can take some of the ideas and the inspiration and you can make amazing creations as well. And I'm going to go now and get out of this wind. Bye!
I'm sure that's not a dandelion. It's Asteraceae family, but it's not the true dandelion.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. See how it's got the tiered leaves? Yeah.
Is that how you know?
Yeah.
Is that a secret giveaway?
Well, you can tell it's an Asteraceae because they have the ray florets and the disc florets.
Oh, okay.
Talking code now, sorry.
Secret gardener code.
The ray florets are, well, the disc florets are the small ones in the middle you can't really see as attractive petals.
Yeah.
Whereas the outside ones are the ray florets, and they're kind of like your
petals.
Your warm pot.
So I'm a ray floret. I like that. That's my new name. That could be my stage name.